All right, let's dive into a huge question that's on a lot of Canadians' minds. Why does the housing market feel so stuck? We're going to break down this generational logjam that's effectively locking a new generation out of home ownership.
For years, all the experts and city planners predicted this big wave of homes would hit the market as baby boomers started to retire and downsize. But that wave just never showed up. So, what's really going on here? Why is there this massive gridlock?
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it. The core of the problem is this major slowdown in what's called generational turnover. That's the natural cycle of homes passing from one generation to the next, and right now that cycle is seriously out of whack.
And this quote from Mike Moffett, it just nails it. The rhythm of the housing market that everyone was counting on has been completely disrupted, and that's created this huge supply crunch, especially for family-sized homes.
So what's causing this disruption? Well, the main reason is actually a really powerful demographic shift. To put it simply, a huge number of older Canadians are choosing to stay in their homes for way longer than previous generations ever did.
And the scale of this is just massive. Check out this number. A major report found that a staggering 86% of urban Canadian homeowners over 54 want to live in their current home for as long as they possibly can. This is exactly what we mean by aging in place.
And look, this isn't just some number in a report, right? This is what real estate agents are seeing on the ground every single day. They are witnessing firsthand how this trend is squeezing a market that's already incredibly tight.
So what does aging in place really mean? It's more than a buzzword. It's this deep preference to stay in a community you know, surrounded by memories, in a home you've had for decades. But, as we're about to see, it's not just about preference. Because here's the thing, the decision to stay put is also driven by a very, very practical problem. There's a serious lack of good alternatives for people who might otherwise want to move. And this is the other side of the coin. It's not just that seniors don't want to move, it's that even when they decide they're ready to downsize, the market often has nothing suitable to offer them. There's a fundamental mismatch.
And this chart, it just lays out the problem perfectly. On one hand, you have what downsizers are actually looking for, single-level living, maybe a little bit of a garden, enough room to host family. But then you look at what's actually for sale, and it's mostly tiny high-rise condos or other giant detached homes. That whole missing middle, things like duplexes or townhomes, is practically non-existent.
And as if that wasn't enough, let's say you actually find the perfect place. Well, the cost of moving itself is just staggering. By the time you add up real estate commissions, legal fees, land transfer taxes, it often becomes way cheaper and a lot less stressful to just stay put and maybe do some renovations.
So you put all of this together, the desire to stay, the lack of good options, the crazy high costs, and what you get is this massive ripple effect. It creates a bottleneck that jams up the entire housing system, and it affects everyone, especially younger Canadians. And there's a term for this, the boomer bottleneck. It's a perfect description, isn't it? It's this structural standstill where fewer and fewer family homes are cycling back onto the market, which means the entry point for first-time buyers just keeps getting smaller.
So what's the actual consequence of this bottleneck? Well, here's the data, and it is pretty stark. In just 10 years, the rate of home ownership for Canadians between 25 and 39 dropped, and dropped significantly. That dream of owning a home is literally slipping away for a whole generation.
And this creates this painful trap that experts are calling the double squeeze. Think about it. Young people are spending nearly half their income just on rent, which makes it basically impossible to save up for a down payment on a home they probably can't find anyway. It's a total catch-22.
And because of all this, that huge life milestone, buying your first home, it's just getting pushed further and further down the road. The average first-time buyer in Canada is now over 35 years old. That's a massive shift from just a generation ago. So where do we go from here? It's so important to be clear. This isn't about pointing fingers or blaming one generation. We have to see this for what it is, a systemic failure that's going to need systemic solutions. And experts are really clear on this. It is absolutely a homeowner's right to stay in their home for as long as they want. The real problem isn't the choice people are making, it's the system that hasn't given them enough good choices to begin with.
Okay, so how do we actually start to break this gridlock? Well, experts tend to point to a three-step plan. First, you've got to reform outdated zoning laws to allow for more density and more types of housing. Second, we have to actually build that missing middle, the duplexes, the townhomes, the low-rise apartments.
And third, we have to speed up the approvals process, which right now can take a mind-boggling 10 or 11 years to get a project built.
And that really is the key takeaway here. The solution is not about trying to push people out of their homes. It's about building better, more diverse housing options so that people who want to downsize actually have appealing, practical places that can go. That's how you create a housing ecosystem that works for everybody. Ultimately, this whole bottleneck forces us to confront a really fundamental question about the future of this country. If that traditional housing ladder is broken, what does the Canadian dream of home ownership even look like anymore? And what is it going to take to build a system that works for every single generation?